Hey there. So it's been a minute. I thought, let's do a story time, right? So, I, during my sabbatical, I did do a house sit. It was my first house sit, and it was my one and only house sit, official house sit. I house sat for a friend before, but this was through, what is it? House sitters, pet sitters, house sitters, whatever. I'll get the name of it, whatever. Anyway, uh, so I was in, I don't know if I was in Morocco at the time or I was in, I think I was in Turkey at the time. And I had my profile out there. Trusted house sitters, that's it. I had my profile out there and I had been tagged a couple of times asking if I could um, pet sit. And I had to turn it down because I was nowhere, I wasn't in the country or I wasn't going to be there at the time they needed a sitter. So, excuse me, this time, I'm sorry, let me take these off so we can get rid of the glare. So this time, um, I had wanted to go to Scotland and I kept checking and checking, how much are the Airbnbs, and it was so, so expensive. I mean, I'm talking over $1,000 per night expensive. So at the time, it was just, I'm like, I don't think I'm going to be able to swing it. So lo and behold, I get a tag on Trusted House Sitters from someone in Inverness, Scotland. So they wanted me to sit with their three dogs for, what was it, for a month? I think it was 4 weeks. So I'm like, this is crazy. No way. The dates aligned with my travels. I could work it out. And so I'm like, okay. And it's like she was really trying to sell me on it. So I'm just kind of like, okay. So we had the little video phone call interview type of thing. I got to see the dogs and I met her and her husband. And it's like, okay, cool. This is great. um, she was even offering to help me uh, pay my way there. And I'm like, no, no, that's not how it's supposed to work anyway. I've got it covered. So, lo and behold, after I left Morocco, I made it to Inverness and it was beautiful. It was really nice, flying over. It's like you just see all this green. And she picked me up from the airport. Turns out she works at the airport. She's a air traffic controller instructor, I think it is. But anyway, she picked me up and we went to the house. The house, they live in what they consider the country. It's a small little neighborhood. Around are like fields, and the houses are, kind of far apart. Um, but I got there, and her dogs are, there was a German Shepherd, and then there were two, what were they, Shih Tzus, two Shih Tzus. And the Shih Tzus were like maybe 10, 11 years old. So they were much older dogs. And the German Shepherd, get this, she was a puppy. She wasn't even 1 year old, but she was full grown. Oh my God. She was adorable, but she was huge. She was like a baby horse. So they stayed there with me. I think it was 3 days before they left. So I went in early and they got to show me the routine for the dogs. They would take the dogs for a walk twice a day, and they live near some woods, so a forest walk they would call it. So we went out there and go traipsing through the forest, and it was really cool. I thought this is amazing. So so I'm left alone with the dogs, and they've gone off to where they were going. And y'all, let me tell you, it wasn't a hard sit. However, one thing I will warn you about if you're thinking about house sitting and to consider is make sure you can manage the dogs that they have, because I've had dogs most of my life, so I'm like, yeah, I can do this. But I didn't really have to take my dogs out on a leash um, at all, unless I took them away from home. So the thing about the German Shepherd is she was not leash trained, and she would pull and pull and pull and pull, and I mean, it took all the strength. And basically, she was dragging me all around Inverness. She was dragging me. There's like a 5 minute walk from the house to the forest, but it's along a highway, and she doesn't like cars. So let me tell you, the first couple of walks wasn't that bad. Um, I she pulled me, and we played tug of war all the way till we got to the forest. When she gets to the forest, you can let her off leash, and she will, go running. But I guess she got to know me enough where she didn't leave me. But there was one time she did leave me. It was scary, but most of the time she didn't leave me. She'd run up and ahead of me, but she would always look back like, where is she? Oh, okay, she's there. But she would bounce around, and I just walked through the forest. And luckily in Inverness there was, no other animals to worry about. Like here, bears and deer and I don't know, mountain lions, whatever. Um, didn't have to worry about that out there, so that was cool. So, so yeah, I mean, she was beautiful dog, very loving, but man, I mean, what our days began to look like was, okay, it's time to go for a walk. I would fasten her uh, around there. There's a belt I could fasten, and then fasten the leash to it, and that kind of helped me. Plus, holding on to it, that kind of helped me manage her pulling. So every morning I would take her out and then cross my fingers. No cars or vehicles were coming down that highway before we would walk to the entrance to the forest. Um, the husband had shown me a shortcut, like basically cross the street. I can go into the forest on one side and then cross the street and get into it from the regular exit. So I didn't have to walk down the highway as much, um, because he knew she was nervous with cars. So I did that one day, let her off the leash. Oh my God. So that area is pretty small. I mean, it's short. And she knows the way. So she's traipsing out in front of me. Then I'm hearing a car, and I'm just like, oh my God, a car's coming. So I start calling her name like Elsa, Elsa. And, all of a sudden I see the highway. I see the way out, and I see Elsa heading that way. I'm like, no, oh my God. So I'm calling her name, and finally the car goes zipping by, and she runs straight out into the street and runs along the car barking at it. And she finally comes back. I was so terrified. I was like, oh my God. So I got her back. Then we went across, to the regular entrance to the forest, and the bigger forest that she's used to. And I let her traipse around in there, and it's like, okay, I'm never going that way again. Um, I think the only other thing was to go that way and keep her on the leash. But the thing is, I didn't want that be longer for her to be pulling me through that part of the forest, you know. So I figured going that way wasn't the way to go. So anyway, we went back to going the way we usually do, and if a car was coming, I just stop, turn her around, and squat down and hold her with both hands, or I'd stand in front of her just to try to get her attention from the vehicles coming down the road. She was so strong, so it was just like every time it was just like a struggle, like, oh. But anyway, there were a couple of times where I'm like, I ain't doing it today. You're gonna have to play in the yard. Now the yard was huge. I mean, the yard is, I don't know how many acres they're on, but their yard was huge. So I would play outside with her. I would throw things and run around, and but some days I'm just like, I don't feel like getting drugged today. So so yeah, so other than that, I just They were easy to take care of. Other than that, the other two didn't get to go on their forest walks as much because I couldn't take all three of them together because the German Shepherd was so much to handle by herself. I didn't want to risk the other two, you know, having a problem. So I'd have to take them separately. So that's me walking the forest 4 times a day. And I'm like, I can't keep doing this. So the little ones spent most of their time in the yard. They didn't get the forest walks as much as Elsa did. Elsa got at least one forest walk, at least every day. So at one point, I was like, I don't do this no more. How long? I started counting the days, like, how long do I have? Um, and I felt bad about it a little bit, but it was more than, it was a lot for me. Um, but they came home, everything was fine. We had kept the house clean, the dogs were fine, Elsa was safe. But very, very nice people. Um, Sweet dogs otherwise. Hopefully, I found some footage and I was able to put it in so you could see. You could at least see Elsa if I couldn't find the pictures of the other dogs. But yeah, that was my one and only house sit. I don't think house sitting is really for me. I don't. I like animals. Um, I think it's more the being in someone else's house when they're not there um, that bothers me. Um, I don't know. I can't explain. It's just it doesn't sit well with my spirit, my energy, or whatever. So yeah, that was my one and only house sit. But it was amazing. It worked out for what I wanted to do. I got to see Scotland. I got to go there for a month, even though I did just stay in the neighborhood for the most part. I went out to eat a couple of times and drove around the area a couple of times, but didn't do a lot. It was enough, for me just to see it. I saw Loch Ness, where they say the Loch Ness monster was. Yeah, it was great. So yeah, so I wanted to share my house sitting story with you and also give you something to think about if you're thinking about doing it yourself. Make sure that whatever they say they want you to do, that you're up to it physically, and if their dog isn't trained, um, that you're able to manage it. I don't know, maybe I was naive, but I didn't think. I had never had a dog that's over 100 pounds with puppy energy dragging me around. I just never had that. So I just thought, I got this, and they don't live far from the forest, so I can swing it. Anyway, made it through. That's it. Hopefully, uh, you'll take that into consideration if you're deciding to house sit and as you take on your clients. So yeah, that's my story time, and I'm sticking to it. Thanks for watching. Bye.